Welcome back into the Rowdy Studio. I'm Stephen Levine. This is Sporting News NASCAR beat writer Bob Pockrass. But then again, you already knew that. Tom Voort on the end. Excited to finally be talking about the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup.
26 races in, finally to the playoffs. Do you call it regular season and playoffs?
You got to.
Or do you not like that?
No,
it's the playoffs.
Okay, all right.
It's the
playoffs.
I like it too, but some people's like, NASCAR doesn't have a regular season. Everybody runs through
But that's
through
probably
week
NASCAR
36.
employees who say that. Like, normal civilians don't say that.
I hear it from all.
Okay. All right, well, before we talk, I want to go down the list.
Playoffs? Did you say playoffs?
That's a different sport.
Okay.
I want to go down
sorry.
the list of 12 chase drivers. Before we do that, though, quickly, you talked to Jimmy Johnson, who knows a little thing about winning in the chase era, about his keys. What were the highlights?
The highlights were to be able to handle adversity by having a united team.
That's a hallmark of the 48.
And the other is don't try to figure out how the chase is going to play out until about 7 weeks into it. In other words, don't
outsmart yourself.
You don't say, well, it's going to be a consistency chase, or you're going to need to win a lot, or because he's like, you just don't know. Usually, after 7 races, then you start racing the chase. Race the first 7 races like you're going to win, and you would race normally, and then those last 3, then you maybe start looking around at who to worry about.
Okay.
Right, and it makes sense. And the other thing you got to keep in mind is the point system is what it is, which means, big wrecks or big problems, that's going to cost you a lot of points. That's going to cost you a lot more than one spot. One spot is 1 point.
Everybody's in the same boat
20.
with that, too.
Exactly. So I think you need to race like you understand the point system.
All right, let's go down the list, Bob. You can start with the guy that you failed to put into your preseason chase picks.
Boo, Bob Pockrass.
Top seed, 4-race winner, Denny Hamlin.
And Denny Hamlin's going to win this whole thing. That's my opinion. I mean, if you take just the tracks where they've already been to this year, take out Talladega, because you don't really, what happens at one Talladega doesn't relate to the next, and he has the best average. He's the guy who's won 1.5 miles. He's won a mile track.
Certainly he's good at the Phoenixes and the New Hampshire.
Yeah, he is going to be the guy that wins this whole thing. And he's got Darian Grubb.
You're not worried about Dover?
It's 1 race.
1 race? All right, let's move on. Tom, you get Jimmy Johnson.
He's going to win. He's going to. Bob, you're wrong. Jimmy's going to win. It's all set up for him to win. That loss last year was just enough to re-engage those guys. He's totally set up to win this thing. Right. And he's excellent at Dover.
Yeah, you got to.
And everywhere else.
You got to be crazy to pick against Jimmy Johnson.
And everywhere else.
Then call me crazy.
Okay, Bob Pockrass, you're crazy. All right, I'm going to take Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart isn't a guy who seems like he's in championship form, but of course, last year, he sure as hell didn't seem like he was in championship form. Now, that was an anomaly. Nobody's going to win 5 or 10 races.
It's not going to happen again, I don't
think.
But
it's hard to say, Tony Stewart, he's not a factor because he's Tony Stewart.
Tony Stewart's not going to be a factor. 1 top 10 at all the tracks that they've been to that are in the chase.
You know what you
this year.
say about Tony Stewart? You say what you say about boxers a lot of time. He's got a puncher's chance. He's got a puncher's chance. He's that talented. I don't think it's very likely, though.
I don't think it's very likely either. I think it's more likely that he punches somebody. All right, here's an interesting guy. Brad Keselowski, seated 4th.
He's going to be strong. I guess the question is, lame duck manufacturer, right, with Dodge, no teammate in the chase. Can he get it done on his own? Maybe, but I wouldn't bank on it.
I like Keselowski if he gets off to a good start to stay in it for a while and maybe be there at the end as a fact.
All right, I know you like the 5th-seeded guy. He's your favorite driver. Not a lot of people are counting on him to do much, but Greg Biffle did lead the points for much of the season.
He did, and that's why he's got a chance. I don't think I'd put him in my top tier probably, Bob, but you can't say he doesn't have a chance based on his leading of the points, and certainly the late win he got at Michigan, downforce track, has got to help that team as they head into the chase.
I think the big question is Matt Pusha, his crew chief, never been a crew chief in the chase before, and that's just that goes one of those things, does it take you, do you have to go through it once before you win it?
All right, I'll take number 6, Clint Boyer. I picked him to win at Richmond, which shows that I'm really sort of simpatico
like how you
with
got
Clint.
that in there.
I had to get that in there. Look, if the chase had more New Hampshires, had more Phoenixes in it, then I would say Clint Boyer is going to be a factor, but I just don't think he's good enough across all track types to make any noise.
I think he's good enough to finish in the top half of the chase.
Well, that's usually where he finishes when he doesn't have 150-point penalties, right?
That is true,
when he's
Bob.
in the chase, he usually does well.
He's smart enough, he's talented enough, and consistent enough. I don't think he's got the equipment.
We like it.
I don't think he's got the equipment to win the thing.
All right, this is going to make you either a hero or a dog to much of the NASCAR faithful. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Bob.
Well, if consistency were to win the chase, then he has a chance.
Well, consistency wins the chase, but it's also the hobgoblin of small minds.
Well, and And but if wins are going to be what it takes, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I think Dale Jr. definitely has a chance to win this chase. The problem is when everyone steps up to me, it's when everyone steps up their game, does Junior have another step up? And that would, to me, would include more wins and more top 3 type finishes, right? And I think maybe he's going to need a little more of that.
Matt Kenseth, number 8.
Matt Kenseth would have been, to me, a favorite, except for the last month and a half. Where's the magic gone, Bob?
And can a lame duck driver actually win a championship? That's a huge question in my mind.
How many races has he won this year? One. And when was it?
A long time ago.
Yes, the Daytona 500. I mean, he hasn't won except...
Which shows you he knows how to win the big one.
Yeah, he knows how to win the big one. Does that give him an advantage at Talladega? No. I mean, yeah, you know, he'll be up there. He'll have a shot, but I don't see it.
Past champion, downforce stuff is good to him. That's the only reason. But I don't put him in my top tier anymore.
All right, number 9 is Kevin Harvick. Should I talk about Kevin Harvick or should I just move on?
Well,
because Kevin Harvick doesn't have a chance.
If you don't talk about it, I'm going to replace you. Okay.
There you go. With somebody that he fired.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be Bob.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick is not going to make any noise. He's barely going to get top. Well, maybe he'll get some top 5s. I don't even think he's going to be in the top.
I disagree a little bit. Very hard to see Kevin Harvick winning. Don't you feel like there's always a guy that comes from the back and makes some noise? And he would be the kind of a driver, now that he has Gil Martin back, that he could go to New Hampshire, you know, be in the mix. He's good at Chicagoland. He could go to New Hampshire. It's a great track for him. I could see him being that dark horse type guy that stays in the mix.
No, I think you're reaching.
But he's a dark horse, so I'm not saying that's my pick.
I think you're even reaching to name him a dark horse. I think if you want to talk about dark horse, talk about the next guy, Bob, Martin Truex Jr. That might be a viable dark horse.
A dark horse, you know, the big question is, this is a guy who can't get enough luck or good fortune to win a race. So how's he gonna get good luck and fortune through 10 races?
Because he's had all the bad luck, he's gotten it out of the way.
Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I like Martin Truex, but Kevin Harvick's a better driver. Okay?
Ooh,
sorry.
Yeah, but who has the better team right now?
He's a better driver, but does he have better
That's
stuff?
questionable, but I think maybe well, okay.
All right, let's move on to number 11. A guy I know you like actually to win the championship is Casey Kane.
I have liked Casey Kane.
You heart Casey.
I do. I heard him.
He's got those dreamy blue eyes.
He's a great talent. We know he can run well at the New Hampshires and the Phoenixes of the world. Maybe not as consistent there as we would like to see, but he can run well there. He's won on a road course. He's more versatile than I think people give him credit for. He's in Hendrick's stuff. He got off to a bad start at the beginning of the year, but he's in the chase. I think he's got a chance. I think he's got a real chance. Bob, what can...
I mean, he's got a chance. Not as good a chance as beating me in his charity race, foot race, the day after Charlotte. He has a better chance of doing that than winning.
Pretty much a lot.
Have you been training?
I've been training a little bit, but I still don't think...
5K, Bob?
Yeah, 5K.
Maybe I'll come out and run it backwards with you.
All right. Yeah, you'd probably beat us too.
Does that mean you're going to run from the finish line to the start line, or you're going to actually
I'm going to turn around backwards?
Okay.
That way I can talk to Bob and motivate him.
All right, number 12, your final chase driver by the skin of his teeth, Jeff Gordon. I don't see Jeff Gordon making any noise. I mean, he barely got into the chase, although he got into the chase fair and square by outrunning Kyle Busch.
Great momentum and great boost. I mean, if you heard that team on the radio after the race, they're screaming, dropping obscenities, and like, we're going to do it.
Jeff Gordon is a guy who normally you could say could win on almost any track, but this is not that Jeff Gordon. We have not seen that sort of dynamism out of Jeff Gordon.
You guys... I don't understand, you guys, how you cannot look at the back half of the chase and say, if there's a guy that comes from the back part of this thing and jumps up to the front, it could be Kevin Harvick or Jeff Gordon. Those are the two obvious names at the back half of the chase that show up because of their
I would say it could be
level.
Jeff Gordon, Casey Martin Truex, and then Kevin Harvick.
Really?
That's your order of like dark horses. You see,
I think Clint Bowyer is the ultimate dark horse in this because you talk about a new team that's never been in the chase before, but a guy who has been and a crew chief who has been, and they've certainly shown they can win.
Good point, Bob.
All right, that's our look at all 12 chase drivers. For Bob Pockrass and Tom Vandervoort, I'm Stephen Levine. Thanks for watching.